So if you're anything like me, you struggle to write. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I get my ideas out of my head and into a first draft, and in particular, the tools that I use as well. So if you're anything like me, your brain just goes a bit too fast for your motor skills and making it really hard to get your ideas and thoughts out onto either a piece of paper or a computer. However, talking through my ideas is super easy, and that is why the number one thing that I do to get that first draft done is to use a dictation or a speech-to-text software to actually just talk through my first draft and get it on paper. So there are a lot of free tools that you can use for this, so there's really no excuse, but I'm going to talk you through some of the ones that I've used and which one I recommend. So for those of you that have access to the Microsoft Office 360 suite, you will be happy to know that they do have a dictation option through pretty much most of their applications. Definitely Word and also Outlook. The only issue is it kind of sucks. So that isn't to say that I don't use it, because I have easy access to it through my work tools. That is probably one of the ones I do use a lot for work. It's just the dictation isn't really up to scratch, but it is at least something to get started. So a couple of years ago, Microsoft actually purchased a dictation software that's been going around for 20 odd years called Dragon Naturally Speaking. So I am hopeful that they are going to integrate that into their software somehow, because that would be an absolute game changer. But until then, you know, the dictation is useful enough to just get a first sort of really rough draft down. And in any case, if you have access to it already, you might as well just give it a try to see if dictation software is going to be helpful for you and your workflow. So what if you don't have access to Microsoft Office 360 and you still want to get some word processor with a good dictation software for free? Well, the good news is that Google Docs does also have a dictation option. They call it voice typing, and in my opinion, it is far superior to Microsoft's. So when I'm doing my own work, I kind of flip between the two. So I do find that a lot of my workplaces or the places that I work for have Google locked down, so you can't access it, which is a bit of a shame because I would prefer to use that as dictation software. But in those cases, I will use Microsoft Office. But for my own sort of personal articles that I write, I quite often will use Google's dictation software. Increasingly though, I have been using this free software, which I find far superior to both of them. And it is an app called Otter AI. And it's intended to actually translate and take meeting notes. So you can link it into Teams and Zoom, etc. And it will actually split out the different speakers and transcribe the meeting for you. But you can also easily use it yourself to just get those ideas out of your head and turned into text. So it's really simple to use. You can just start talking and it'll start to transcribe it, and then you can export it and put it into a word processor like Microsoft or Google Docs and start to edit from there. So if you're Australian like me, it may not pick up every single word, but I do find it far more accurate than both Microsoft and Google. So for me and my workflow, it is beneficial, that extra step. So I know there are a lot of free apps out there. I just find this one for me personally works really well. I get 10 hours a month free transcription, and that is plenty for me to do the majority of my work. So I'd love to know, is there any tips that you have for writing and getting those ideas down on paper? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you are interested in learning more about how to just manage all your information and your communications, make sure you subscribe to my channel.